In this episode, we talk about the reasons why the government decided to cancel the UGC NET examination. We also talk about an expert who will be accompanying the Indian Olympic contingent to help them sleep better. But first, we talk about how government hospitals in the capital are dealing with patients suffering from heat stroke. Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. For over a month now, temperatures have been soaring across the country, particularly in the capital, where the mercury has been hovering over 44 degrees Celsius. These extreme conditions have prompted government hospitals like RML to set up dedicated heat wave units. This especially considering the fact that at least 18 heat-related deaths have been reported in the city since the 23rd of May. To give you an idea of how these units function, Indian Express's Ankita Upadhyay tells us the story of Raju Kumar, who was admitted to the hospital earlier this week after suffering from heat stroke.
So this person, Raju, he's a 35-year-old daily wage worker, and he was working at a construction site in Mahipalpur, which is near Vasant Kunj. And he lives in a jhuggi in the same area. And he's from Jhansi, from Uttar Pradesh. He had come to Delhi 5 years ago to make a living. Now his entire family has shifted to Delhi, including his brothers and his mom. And he has 2 children as well.
She says since he's a daily wage worker, he takes up any kind of work he can find, earning about 10,000 rupees a month. Now, for the past month and a half, he had been breaking stones, a back-breaking and exhausting activity, especially in this heat.
So he was deployed in road construction, where he was basically breaking large stones which are to be placed on the road.
She says that young people often suffer from heat stroke after undergoing intense physical activity in high temperatures. And this is precisely what happened to Raju. His wife told Ankita that he had been exhausted after coming home from work on Monday, a day when the temperature had reached 44 degrees Celsius. The fan at their home was not working properly, and to make matters worse, there was a power outage in their area that night.
She told me that Raju had desi liquor and he went out to sleep in the open when he had a heat stroke. The prolonged heat exposure once during the day and then at the night had taken a toll on his body basically. So the temperature was very high during the night time as well on Monday, and he started feeling unwell. He told Anjana about this, that he's not feeling well, but then somehow he passed the night. The next day he started having seizures, he collapsed, and he had uncontrolled vomiting and diarrhea. And it was then she decided to take him to RML Hospital. She knew about the hospital because she had come with her mother-in-law for her treatment earlier.
It took around 45 minutes for his wife to complete the initial paperwork. And then Raju was transferred from the emergency room to the heat wave unit.
He stayed there for 20-30 minutes because the doctors were trying to bring down his temperature.
And his temperature was 107 degrees Fahrenheit at the time.
So basically what happens is the doctors don't measure the body temperature, like the outside body temperature. They measure the temperature which of the inside, the core of the body, right? So what they do is they put a wire inside the rectum of a person, and from there they measure the temperature. And Raju's temperature was 107.
And Raju was not alone. Ankita says that earlier that day, an elderly patient in the unit had recorded a temperature of 110 degrees Fahrenheit.
That was the highest they had seen. So this happened, I think, on Sunday when this 60-year-old patient had come. So this is unprecedented, this kind of temperature, and especially in the core of the body, not just outside. So this is something very alarming.
Now to treat Raju, the doctors immersed him in a tub filled with ice and cold water, where he remained for about 30 minutes.
As soon as his temperature came down, he was shifted to ICU. A lot of tests were done, including CT scan and blood tests, etc., which confirmed that he had a heat stroke. In this case, the doctors have told Anjana that he won't be able to walk for some time because there is a possibility that some brain damage has also happened. Brain stroke can at times lead to organ failure and brain damage as well. So this was the status that last time I spoke to the doctors and Anjana. Now he's recovering in the ward currently.
Ankita says the heat wave unit at the hospital has 2 bathtubs, an ice-making machine, and 2 ventilator beds.
So far, 20 to 25 patients have been admitted to this unit. This is the only such unit in North India so far, as per the officials of the hospital. A majority of the patients that have been attended in this unit have been put on ventilator after this procedure completes, because they reached the hospital in a very critical condition. Other central government hospitals do not have such a provision, but now the Union Health Minister JP Nadda has also directed all the other central government hospitals to start the special heat wave unit. In Delhi government hospitals, there's no such provision though. All the heat stroke patients are being attended in emergency and casualty and then being shifted to ICU. And if required, they are being referred to other hospitals as well.
She says the treatment typically involves placing ice packs on patients' underarms, stomach, and back, and providing them with IV fluids and ICU care if necessary.
On Wednesday, Delhi Health Minister Shashank Bhargava had also chaired an emergency meeting with the medical superintendents and medical directors of the hospitals, and he directed them to increase the bed capacity for all the heat-related patients who are coming and seeking assistance. And Shashank Bhargava has also sought assistance from Delhi police to help the homeless.
She says the first 3 days of this week were particularly challenging for doctors across the city. At RML, for example, a total of 47 cases of heat stroke were recorded from the 27th of May to the 19th of June. Now, Ankita says that doctors recommend avoiding stepping out in the sun when temperatures are this high, especially between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. Unfortunately, this is often unavoidable for people like Raju. But there are other measures that can be kept in mind as well.
You should avoid strenuous activity during this time. But if one has to go out, they should ensure they keep drinking water, even if they are not feeling thirsty. And they should hydrate with other fluids like lassi, nimbu pani, buttermilk, or even ORS that can maintain electrolyte levels. So it's very important to maintain a good electrolyte level to prevent heat stroke. That is the crux of the story here. In heat stroke, your electrolyte levels go down and that's how you fall sick. One should avoid consuming alcohol and all these beverages like tea, coffee, soft drinks, because it tends to dehydrate the body. You should wear lightweight cotton clothes, light colored, which are loose, use sunglasses, umbrellas, and especially there's this very interesting thing which the doctors told me, that those living on top floors have also come to the hospital. There were a lot of cases where elderly people were living on the top floor of their houses, and for them the doctors have asked me to convey through my stories that they should be very careful. They should try to keep their homes cool by using air conditioners, coolers, fans, curtains. They should keep their body temperature low by using a damp cloth or taking cold baths. However, if there are symptoms of heat stroke, such as high body temperature, which is more than 103 degree Fahrenheit. So, if they're feeling hot, their body temperature has risen more than 103 degree Fahrenheit, and there's no sweat, their pulse rate is fast, there's headache, dizziness, and nausea, and confusion, and if they're losing consciousness, then they require immediate medical treatment, because often we tend to confuse the heat stroke symptoms with symptoms of other disease, such as a brain stroke or a cardiac event, like a heart attack or a cardiac arrest. So if somebody has called an ambulance in such a condition for a person who's sick, so they should try to cool the person as much as possible. They should apply ice packs to the neck and in the armpits. They should also encourage them to drink salted water. So yeah, these are the preventive measures for heat stroke.
And next we talk about another controversy involving one of India's standardized tests. At a time when the National Testing Agency is already under fire for irregularities in conducting the NEET undergraduate exam, the Ministry of Education on Wednesday night announced the cancellation of the UGC NET, the University Grants Commission National Eligibility Test. This test is crucial for securing entry-level teaching positions in Indian universities and for admission to PhD programs in the country. The decision has sparked further protests from students and the opposition who have been targeting the ruling BJP government. To explain the reasons behind the cancellation and the significance of this test, Indian Express's Abhinaya Harigovind joins us. Abhinaya, first tell us, what is the UGC NET exam and how often is it conducted?
So the UGC NET is the National Eligibility Test, and this is an exam that the University Grants Commission has tasked the National Testing Agency with conducting. So the UGC NET is an exam that's held twice a year. It's held once in June and once in December. Lakhs of candidates appear for it in both the June and December iterations. So this year, this exam was held on June 18th, and it had about a little more than 9 lakh candidates who appeared for it.
Right, and we're talking at a time when the NEET controversy hasn't even got over. Our regular listeners would know that there were a lot of irregularities with the pre-medical test, including a record number of students who got 100% marks, allegations of a paper leak, and even an incorrectly worded question. And now, while that has been going on, the UGC NET has been cancelled. Talk about the reasons the government has given for this.
On why the UGC NET was cancelled, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan provided a few details at a press conference on Thursday evening. So he said that they had received inputs which showed that the UGC NET paper was leaked on the dark net, and that when they verified, the paper which had been leaked on the dark net was found to have matched the original NET question paper. So then that's when they decided to cancel the exam, and they have sought a CBI inquiry into the matter. The CBI has registered a case in the matter on Thursday.
And Abhinaya, could you talk about the kind of reactions this has prompted, especially at a time when a lot of people are already angry about the NEET exam?
Yeah, so since this is coming so close on the heels of this NEET controversy, the protests were already underway against the issues that have plagued the NEET exam this year. So the Congress had already called for nationwide protests against this NEET controversy. So now the Congress leaders have also raised the issue of the UGC NET. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has called the cancellation of the exam a victory for the spirit of millions of students. He has said that earlier, the Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan had said that there was no paper leak as such when it came to the NEET. But then arrests have been made in different parts of the country. And other Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi has also attacked the government over the NEET and NET controversy. The Shiv Sena has also said that it exposes the NTA's incompetence. So multiple opposition leaders have used this as an opportunity to refer to the incompetence of the National Testing Agency.
Also, this is happening a few months after the government passed a new anti-paper leak law. Could you talk about what had prompted the government to do that and what the law addresses?
So the anti-paper leak law was passed in the wake of instances of paper leaks in different parts of the country. The law is called the Public Examinations Prevention of Unfair Means Act, and it was passed earlier this year. It is meant for centrally conducted public examinations, and it's the first such act which specifies unfair means in an examination, which includes things like leakage of question papers or sections of answer keys, colluding in the leakage of these question papers or answer keys. And it also specifies the punishment for these unfair means, which includes a fine of up to 10 lakh and imprisonment of 3 to 5 years. In the case of those resorting to unfair means and offences, it also specifies punishment for more serious offences, which is organised crime when it comes to these public examinations. And for that, it specifies imprisonment of a term of not less than 5 years, which may extend to 10 years, and a fine of not less than 1 crore rupees.
And in the end, we talk about Olympics, the world's biggest sporting event set to take place in Paris in just about a month. This year, there's a surprising new addition to the Indian contingent. Alongside their coaches, managers, and doctors, the team will be accompanied by someone who could be a game changer in ensuring their peak performance. For the first time ever, the Indian athletes will have a specialist to help them get a good night's sleep. When we spoke to Indian Express's Mihir Vasavda, he told us more about it. Mihir, so what is the reason that Indian athletes will be accompanied by a sleep expert? I mean, this is happening for the first time.
If anyone who has followed the Olympics remotely, they'll know that common storyline that runs across the Olympics, whether the athlete has competed, whether he's about to compete, or the thing is, months away. They'll always say that how their sleep is completely gone for a toss, whether it'll be anxiety, you'll be tossing on your bed thinking about the day of the competition. On the night before the competition, you'll be nervous. Once you're done with your event, you'll be, either elated, having won a medal, sad, you've lost it, or at worst, you'll just be at peace that it's done. And then when you're at the village, it's the energy, it's the adrenaline of being amongst 10,000 people. It's a crazy atmosphere there. There's constant noise. There's a lot of travel. So all this essentially means that your sleep is compromised and you're, of course, entering a city, a country from someplace else. So jet lag also plays a factor. So sleep is at a premium. Sleepless Olympians are everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why for the first time, the Indian Olympic Association has decided that a sleep advisor will be accompanying the contingent and putting them to sleep.
And could you talk about what some of these athletes and medal winners have to say about how lack of sleep affects their performance?
Many instances, but I'll name a couple. The 2 gold medalists India has produced since independence in individual sport. Abhinav Bindra, he couldn't sleep the night before his 10-meter rifle final in 2008 Beijing Olympics, mainly because of anxiety. Then we moved to Neeraj Chopra at the Tokyo Olympics. And his story was different in a way that he reached around 3 or 4 days before his event, before his qualifying round. The first night he reached, it was jet lag. Second night, he was just about getting there, and suddenly at around 5 or 5:30 in the morning, the anti-doping guys reached and they knocked on his room and they wanted his urine sample. So his sleep was disturbed there. He was sleep deprived when he entered the qualifying rounds, got it through. Then anxiety gripped him the night before his final, and he couldn't sleep because of that. So after he won the gold medal at Tokyo, first thing he said that everything's done, I want a good night's sleep. And that's how sleep deprived athletes are at the Olympics.
Okay, so talk about who the sleep expert is and what are the tools they're going to use to put these athletes to sleep.
Right, so the sleep therapist that's traveling with the Indian team, her name is Dr. Monika Sharma. And she's already started speaking to quite a few Indian athletes. And she basically said that there is profound ignorance about the role sleep plays in an athlete's performance. And she had some very interesting stats to back it up, quoting some of the researches that have been done. So what she kind of says is that if you are sleeping well, your reaction time improves by 11%, your jump height improves by 10%, and your sprint performance by 4%. Whereas if you aren't sleeping well, there is 68% chance that you're more likely to suffer injuries as compared to those who are well rested. And basically sleep's restorative powers is what she's highlighting. And a lot of our body's recovery happens while we are asleep. I mean, just a simple thing. If we are tired and we wake up, we feel fresh. Something as basic as that. But when it comes to sports, when it comes to sports science, you multiply it several times. So what she'll essentially be doing is talking to the athletes, making them aware of sleep. There is a sleep kit bag, so to say, that's been provided. It's very basic. It will have, earplugs, pillows and masks and those kind of things. There'll be sleeping pods, we don't know how helpful they'll be, but they'll be installed at India's apartment so that everyone of India's athletes can use them. There'll be 3 or 4 of them. So these are some of the initiatives that will be taken. And the whole objective is that when they are at the starting line, they should be fresh and not be kind of drowsy.
And Mihir, some of the numbers she's quoting, 10%, 11%, that can make a lot of difference at the Olympic level, right?
Even 1% is what athletes strive for. So when you're talking about 10%, 11%, 4%, these are massive numbers. Of course, we haven't seen those studies ourselves, but being an expert in the field, you got to take her word, on this.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.